You've logged on to Homepage, a public affairs feature of 93.7 K Country and Wind FM 92.5, 95.5, and 107.9. I'm Bob Moody, and my guest this morning is Jackie Johnson. Jackie is from Alachua County Public Schools. She is the Public Information Officer. Your formal title is Director of Communications.
That's
Welcome
right.
to the program.
Yes, thank you.
Jackie, first I'd like to start off with just some of the things that you have done this summer. I know we've got a couple of programs we'd like to talk about, and also some achievements that have been happening through this summertime. And one is the Buchholz National Math Championship. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, this is if I'm not mistaken, the 12th time out of the last 13 years that Buchholz's math team has taken the national championship. They've really built a powerhouse tradition over at the school. And one of their students actually took the top individual student award at that competition. So that is just one example of where we have been really successful with our STEM programs. That's science, technology, engineering, and math. We had some kids earlier this year who scored very well at the International Robotics program. We have constantly kids winning science competitions and science fairs and math competitions and engineering fairs. And so we are very strong in that area, and we're very proud of the students and staff who make that happen.
That is fantastic. Give these kids just a great thing for them to do.
Absolutely. They are, and they work very hard at it. It's not just that they show up at the competitions and expect to do well. They are practicing. They are coming to school, after school, during the weekends, and over summer, spending hours at school practicing for this. So they put a lot of work into it.
Now, I understand they also won some prizes.
They did. In addition to the first place championship, they took more than 200 individual and team awards. So this is really a team effort, and it's not the first year. They've been consistently the top-ranked school in the country and competing against public and private schools from all across the United States.
One of the students in your press release, he really considered himself an average math student until he joined the Buchholz High School team. And this really just turned him around. It made him work harder when he got into the competition because he was a competitor, but to hone his math skills, and it's such a great thing for these kids to have that type of activity.
It really is, and I got a chance to talk to him just a couple of days ago right after the competition, and of course he was thrilled, but he's also very humble. And what was nice is I met up with him at Buchholz because the day after returning from Las Vegas in the competition, he was back at the school tutoring middle school students who are interested in math and helping them develop the same passion for mathematics that he developed when he entered high school. So I think that's really meaningful, that these kids are trying to pass on their love of learning to younger students.
Yeah, that is a great thing. His name is?
Yared Tadezi.
And he won an award, a very important, prestigious award in this competition. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that is really the guidelines for that award. It's not enough to be an outstanding math student, which obviously he is, but you also have to show that you have been serving others and helping others develop the same love of math that you have. And as part of this very rigorous screening process, during the competition in Las Vegas, he had to take time out for what he said was kind of an intimidating interview with math educators and people from private industry from throughout the country who sat him at one end of a conference table and they were at the other end and asked him about his qualifications. And he obviously came through that with flying colors and was able to take that top award. I
see here that the team brought home a record-breaking 242 awards during the competition. It swept all three divisions.
Yes.
Wow,
yeah.
That is...
It's absolutely amazing, but it's not just talent. Again, it's the hard work. And their arch rival is a school called American Heritage. It's a private school in South Florida. Mm-hmm. And they have pretty consistently beaten that team. Only once in the last 13 years has that team beaten them. Mm-hmm. And so they swept them pretty handily this year, and they were very happy about that.
Where is the competition held?
This year it was held in Las Vegas, but it moves around in the United States. So those kids who have been on the team for all 4 years have been to a variety of places to compete in this.
Understand that Gainesville High School also sent a team to the national competition.
This was their first year going. Buchholz took 61 kids, and a lot of them were really seasoned experts in competitions. Gainesville High School took 14 kids, and your awards are based on your point total. So obviously the more kids you have competing, the more points you're going to rack up. But even with just the 14 students going for Gainesville High School, they managed to come back with more than 40 individual and team awards. So they made a great showing in their first year. And again, that shows the kinds of great education that our students are getting in those STEM fields, in addition to other areas as well.
Other things going on in the school system or, for the kids during the summer that, of course, we're talking only a few weeks away before school starts.
Right.
But some of the things that you can talk about that have happened through the summer?
Sure. And a lot of people don't realize how busy summer is for school systems. Teachers and staff, a lot of them are going to training. They are preparing for the upcoming school year, building lesson plans, things like that. We have students actually in schools, all grade levels, these are kids who may need extra help. These are kids who want to put in a little extra time. This past week at Newberry High School, we had more than 20 students who attended what we called a summer seminar, a summer institute. And these are kids who are going to be tackling the very rigorous advanced placement courses for the first time in their high school careers. And the school offered them a chance. Well, come to the school for a few hours every day this week. We'll have the teachers meet with you. They can talk with you about organizational skills and research skills, and can talk to some former students who took AP courses and are now at UF and doing very well. And we had a number of kids, not just from Newberry High School, but from Eastside High School and Gainesville High School, who were willing to give up part of their summer vacation to take advantage of this. And fortunately, they had teachers who were willing to do the same and come in and really give these kids a good head start on this more rigorous classwork, because the feeling was if the kids are up to this challenge, if they're willing to take this on, the teachers and staff want to give them the tools that they need to be successful.
You said that it was a class. Is it in a class format type, or is this more like a get to know your subject?
It was really a combination. There were some group activities where they, heard from somebody who was a former Newberry High School student who is now a senior at the University of Florida, took a lot of AP courses, and he talked to them as a group about how much AP courses had benefited him. But then they broke up into smaller groups, and they met with teachers to talk not just about the content of those courses, what can you expect in your biology course, what can you expect in your language arts course, but to also give the kids some hands-on tips and workshops about how do you organize your time, what's the best way to take notes, critical reading. So there were some very practical skills, but also some motivational things that went into building this particular seminar.
How long have you had these programs going?
This was brand new. This was a pilot program this year. We started it at these three high schools this year, and we're hoping to build on the success of what we did this year and expand it to other schools in next summer.
It's a great idea.
Absolutely.
It's a great idea because it really does give the kids a little advance notice. I can remember it way back, but I can remember going to a new class, not knowing anything about what was going to happen, wondering how am I going to figure this out. And I could see where the teacher would be spending a lot of time at the beginning,
right,
getting all the kids up to speed for this class, especially if it's something they have never been in before. I mean, I understand English or math or something like that, but when you're talking about other advanced classes, and the other skill that you just mentioned, time management.
Yes.
One of my biggest things that I have to work on myself.
A lot of people do.
We all do.
Yes.
But time management, it's a very important skill, especially for a student whenever they have so many classes and so many things to do.
Right. And these are skills that are going to serve them not just in school, but in life. I mean, these are skills that we can all use to do better in our personal lives and in our work lives. So, and that's what a lot of the kids told me, is that, yes, they realize this is going to help them in the AP courses, but they think it's going to be something that helps them longer term as well. So that's why they were willing to give up some of their summer vacation time to get this head start on these classes, because they realize the long-term benefits.
Well, I'm impressed. I mean, I know my grandkids, they wouldn't give up their summer or wouldn't think about it. But it's very important. And if this program could blossom into something, the kids that are wanting to advance.
Absolutely.
And some way to encourage the others to all join in. It's not like we want to have school all summer long. As a matter of fact, how long does the class
It was about 2.5 hours, and at Newberry it was for over 4 days this week. So Monday through Thursday, this past week. So Monday through Thursday, 2.5 hours. And to prevent any obstacles, we provided breakfast and lunch for these kids so that meals weren't an obstacle. Because really the goal is to encourage more students who might not normally consider themselves AP material. If we can issue them that challenge, but give them some additional support so that they have a comfort level with it, we can encourage more students, more what we consider non-traditional students in these courses, to take advantage of them, because we know that long-term taking on this challenge is going to serve them well later on.
And I know in your meetings when starting this pilot program, you've taken into consideration transportation. You talked about the meals.
Meals was part of it. The kids did have to find their own way to school. For most of them, that was not a problem, particularly in Newberry. It's a fairly small community, and so most of them were able to get to the school. But for a lot of the programs that we have in place, after-school programs, for example, summer programs, transportation is provided, because we don't want that to be a barrier for children who need that extra support.
Exactly. Whenever it is widespread population that you cover, you would have to consider transportation for those that can't make it there.
Right.
But really commend you for that's a great program, and I wish it success. I hope
Thank you.
Hope that continues. I also have some information. You want to talk about the Alachua County Public Schools have earned an A grade from the state.
We have. That happened less than 2 weeks ago. We received an A rating from the state of Florida, which is not easy to do, and that is based on the overall academic performance of our students. A lot of it is based on test scores, but it's also based on factors at the high schools, for example, graduation rates. At our middle and high schools, they take a look at the number of kids who are taking advanced courses and how well they're doing. They take a look at the number of kids who are taking career tech courses and how well they're doing. How many of them earn national certification. So there are a number of factors that they look at. So we were thrilled to get that A grade. We were also very thrilled that several of our schools that were struggling in previous years, and these are schools that serve a high number of high-need students, they made some very significant gains this year. So we were very pleased to see that, and that's building on the increases we saw in our graduation rates in 2018. Now, we haven't gotten our 2019 graduation rates yet. That'll probably happen in December. But what we saw in 2018 was a big jump in graduation rates for all students, but particularly for African American students. And that was something we were really looking to do, was close that gap in graduation rates between our white students and our African American students. And we did see that in 2018, and we're certainly hopeful that we see the same thing as a result of the 2019 graduation rates. Yeah,
it seems like that is quite a complex formula that they have in order to grade those schools.
It is. It's very complex, and it changes all the time. The tests change pretty frequently. The test standards change pretty frequently. Passing scores change pretty frequently. The formula changes pretty frequently. So in a lot of ways, we are constantly trying to hit a moving target.
Do they have the The grading system, do they grade Alachua County or the school district in one grade, or do they do it individually for each school?
It's both. Every single school gets an individual grade, and there are consequences and rewards based on each individual school's grade. And then they look at the entire school district as if it were a school. Mm-hmm. And so they look at things like overall test performance. They look at the gains students have made. They're particularly interested in the performance of your lowest scoring students. So they really want to see improvement among your lowest performing students. And that can be a struggle because there's a reason these kids are low performing. They don't do well on these standardized tests. So the scores of those lowest performing kids really weigh heavily in this particular formula. And then again, they look at some of those other factors at the higher grades. So they do both. Every school gets assigned a grade, and then the district as a whole as if it were one big school.
So do they actually single out individual students, or do they look at them as a whole?
They look at the students within each school, but they also break them into subgroups. Mm-hmm. So they will look at the performance of your lowest performing students. They will look at the performance of all of your students. They will look at the performance of your lower income students. So there are a variety of things that the state looks at in determining each school's grade, and you've got to be on top really of all of those things.
Mm-hmm. That really is almost another program in itself.
It is. You could spend hours talking about the school's grading formula.
I do have more questions, but I have another topic that I'd like to get into.
Sure.
And that is that school is just a few weeks away.
It is hard to believe.
And it's hard to believe
yes, it is.
that summer is almost over,
yes,
especially for our children. With school not starting for just a few more weeks, but you're asking parents to register their children for school now.
Yes. That it's really best for the kids. You would be amazed how many parents wait until the day before school or the day school starts or even after school starts to register their kids. That's not good for the kids because obviously if the kids aren't registered, they're not going to be in the classroom. So they're going to miss out on those first few days where they're getting to know their teacher, getting to know the classroom structure, meeting classmates, getting familiar with the campus. And they're missing out on instruction because our teachers aren't wasting any time. They're working on curriculum from day one, and the kids are missing out on that. Middle and high school kids who register late, chances are they're going to miss out on some of the courses that they want because those courses are already full. It's an inconvenience for parents because I can tell you, if they walk into a school now to register their kid, there won't be any lines. They'll be able to fill out the forms, be done in a few minutes. Mm-hmm. If they wait until right before school starts or right after school starts, chances are there will be crowds. They'll be facing long lines. And if their child is missing some shots or is missing their a form that shows they've had a physical in the last year, they're going to have to go to their health care provider or the health department, and those folks have told us that the first few days of school are a nightmare for them. So it's better for parents. It's more convenient for parents if they get it done. But really, late arrivals to school are a planning nightmare for schools. If we don't know how many kids are coming and where they're coming, it's hard to plan. Sometimes we end up needing more teachers at a particular school, and it's hard to hire teachers after the school year has started. Sometimes we end up having to move teachers from one school to another because we have some unexpected arrivals someplace. And when you do that, you're going to have to change the schedules of other children who were there on time, because you'll have to rearrange everybody's schedule, and that's really not fair. If a late arrival needs a bus, needs bus transportation, you may have to rearrange bus routes, and that's also not fair to the other children. So it's really better for everyone if parents get that taken care of now rather than waiting until school starts.
It seems as though quite possibly, well, not quite possibly, it is true. It's almost chaos on the first few days of school, just getting all the kids registered and in are set up for the classes that they're needing.
Absolutely.
So it just makes sense to go in advance.
It does. It does.
To get it set up.
Absolutely. The earlier, the better.
Because you already know and already have everything set up for your classes, and it's just a matter of them choosing and being able to choose the right class for their grade they're in.
It is, and it's also a matter of making sure that we have everybody in place for all the students who are going to be there. As I said, it's hard to hire new teachers if you need them after the school year has started because they've already taken jobs someplace else. If a child has special needs, if they need speech therapy or occupational therapy or something along those lines, it's even harder to get them those services afterwards. So there are so many reasons that it's better for everyone, but particularly the students, if families get them registered before school starts.
And so how do parents register their kids for school?
It's not a tough process. We have on our website, which is sbac.edu, we have a back-to-school website that is up and running, and part of that shows what you need to register. There are some documents you need to bring with you, 2 proofs of where you live, health records for your kids for the state that the state of Florida requires, proof of your child's name and age, so that might be a birth certificate, for example. You take those into your zone school. If you're not sure which school your child needs to attend, you can contact the district office by phone or by email, but even now, the staff in that office are starting to get busy. So you can also go on our website, plug in your address, plug in your child's grade, and you will be able to see what school your child should be attending. Now, registration is only necessary for those kids who are new to the school system, so they're entering kindergarten, or they've moved from another district, or they're coming in from a private school or a charter school, for example. Or if they have moved from one school zone to another school zone within the district, then they also need to register. So those are really the kids who need to be registered before school starts. Everybody else should be taken care of.
Obviously, school safety is a big issue. It's a big issue for everyone.
Sure.
What's Alachua County Public Schools doing to keep students and staff safe?
We have been ahead of the curve on that for many years. We have actually had school resource officers assigned to every single one of our schools, and that includes elementary schools, since back in 2013, right after Sandy Hook. So when the state legislature passed the law after Parkland that said every single school had to have a safety officer, we were pretty much already there, as opposed to a lot of other districts that were left scrambling, trying to get the schools staffed, and even law enforcement agencies around the state of Florida who couldn't hire officers fast enough to fill those positions. So we were in good shape there. Now, the downside is that the cost of filling those positions has gotten more expensive, and the state hasn't come up with anywhere near enough money to cover the cost of what they're requiring. So it's going to cost us somewhere in the neighborhood of $800,000 out of our general fund. This is stuff we would normally spend on teacher salaries and buses and things like that. We're going to have to take that and pay what the state isn't covering. So, but we've got those folks in place. We were also ahead of the curve on safety training. There's something called ALICE, which is that's an acronym. It stands for, I should know that off the top of my head, but that stands for, let me get this right, Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. It is probably the most popular threat response protocol that's being used across the country, not just by schools, but by businesses, by other governmental entities. And it's really a way of teaching people how to respond to an active threat, like a shooter, depending on the circumstances. Because the days of just cowering in a corner, those are over. Experts have found that doesn't work. So we had already been training all of our teachers and staff in that for a couple of years when the state said that that's something that all school districts need to be doing. What's new is that last year the state started requiring all districts to train students in these kinds of active threat protocols and to conduct monthly drills with the students. Now, we did have some pushback from some parents who were not excited about having their kids go through these active shooter drills every month. And what we've had to tell them, one, is that it's a state law, but two, we try to make this as age appropriate as possible. We don't want to scare kids, but we want them to take it seriously, and we want them to be prepared. Hopefully they will never, ever have to use it, but we want them to be prepared if it happens. And then really the other leg of that particular stool is school hardening, our facilities. Our average school is more than 40 years old, and some of them are a lot older than that. And of course, they were built long before anybody worried about active shooters.
Right.
Now, we've done a lot of things in the past few years to harden those facilities: cameras, gates, fences, locked doors, emergency notification systems. We've put a lot of things in place, but it's not enough, and we don't have enough money from the state of Florida to do all of the things that we'd like to do to harden our facilities. So that's why we're so happy that the voters of Alachua County last November approved the half cent for schools, because among other things, that's going to allow us to make facilities-related improvements to our schools that are going to make them safer.
Now, what are some of the things that parents can do to help their kids get off to a good start?
There are many things. We encourage them to attend their Meet Your Teacher event, and our back-to-school website has a schedule of all of those events. It's just a chance for them to go into the school the Thursday or Friday, in most cases, before school starts, take their child in, meet the teacher, meet some of their classmates, see where their cubby is, see where they're going to sit. For the older kids, wander the campus, see where all their classes are going to be held. And it really helps avoid some of those first day jitters that kids and parents can experience.
Yes, right.
Right now, it's a good time for parents to start getting their kids back onto a school schedule. You know, over the summer, we'll let kids sleep in late.
Yes.
We'll let them stay up late. We'll have them on strange meal schedules. Now's the time to get them back onto some semblance of a school year schedule, so it's not such a shock to the system when they start up school again in the fall. Stay in touch with the school. One thing we constantly have to stress to parents, if your phone number changes, your email changes, your address changes, we have to know that. I can't tell you how many horror stories we've had where a kid gets hurt or injured, or for some other reason, we need to contact the parent, and the numbers that they've given us are no good.
Oh my,
so we
yes.
definitely want parents to keep us up to date on their contact information. And probably one of the best things parents can do is stress to their kids that education is important in our household, and make sure that they have a place and all the supplies they need to do homework. Check their backpacks. Talk to them about what they've done during the school day. I know that's harder with school kids. Older kids. I've experienced that myself. But talk to them about what they're doing during the school day. Get involved in the school if you can. There are lots of ways that parents can be involved in their child's school, even at the middle and high school level, because you can volunteer, attend school activities, performances, things like that. Even have lunch with your kid once in a while at the school. Schools welcome that. Kids whose parents are involved, they do better in school and they do better in life. And I think that's the best gift that parents can give kids, is to be involved in their education.
Thank you. My guest today has been Jackie Johnson, Alachua County Public School Director of Communications. Jackie, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Homepage is presented as a public affairs feature of 93.7 K Country and Wind FM 92.5, 95.5, and 107.9. I'm Bob Moody, hoping you'll log on with us next Sunday on Homepage.